different. And hey, it's Dave from cheapwinefinder.com again, coming to you from lockdown. Still doing good. I hope you are too. And we got another wine today. Got nothing better to do, though it's getting harder and harder to go out and find wines. I went to Trader Joe's to try to check out that, and they only allow 30 people in a store at a time, and there was a line of about 30 people waiting, which I didn't think was good. You're supposed to stay 6 feet apart and not congregate, and I don't know, the line is kind of elongated congregation, so I got the heck out of there. And that was okay, because I ended up going to a grocery store, Mariano's, which in Chicago is a Kroger, and just wandering around, not knowing what to get, not trying to get within 6 feet of people, so I was all over the place. And I found an interesting wine, and I will go into that in a second, and it's the Bluebird, Monterey County, Pinot Noir 2016, which I found for $14.99, which is a very good wine, and this is not your typical grocery store wine, though as time goes on, grocery store wines are getting to be anything but typical. I mean, there are certain wines you expect to see there, but things are getting, depending on the chain, different and unusual, and in some cases a lot of fun. And this is I think an orphan wine. The company Bluebird quit doing all their social media. They had YouTube videos and Instagram and Facebook and Twitter accounts, and they quit posting in 2015. This is a 2016 vintage, so I don't know. I guess they made it this far before it all went wrong or something, or they decided not to, or whatever reason. And they seem to have had other wines in the past. There's some Chardonnays. I saw Sonoma Pinot Noir and a Santa Barbara Pinot Noir. Like, this is Monterey. And then I look on the back label, and it says only 52 barrels, and that's not a lot. I think there's like 15,000 bottles for 52 barrels. I think it is. So it's kind of a smaller production wine, and it says it's from Gary's Vineyard. Gary's Vineyard is one of the most popular, one of the most famous Pinot Noir vineyards in all of California. It's in Santa Lucia Highlands, in Monterey, kind of off the coast, a little bit in the Highlands. It's a very well-regarded, famous vineyard. I mean, that's the only one they mention, and there's nothing else. So I don't know. All this stuff came from Gary's Vineyard. There's two Garys, Pizzoni, and I forget the other guy. There's two families that have been in Monterey forever, and they have vineyard holdings there, and this is a wine left over, and the only name they say is this. This is wines from Gary's Vineyard sell for $50 at least. I mean, and you usually see the Gary's Vineyard on their front label. That's why wine's going to be expensive, is when they start putting the vineyard location on the label. So this is a high-end vineyard, and this is not a high-end wine. At least it isn't anymore, and I don't think it was ever meant to be. It was supposed to be an everyday wine. And that's kind of cool. And what was it doing in a Mariano's / Kroger chain? I don't know. It's out there. I can't find any other Bluebird wines selling everywhere. There's a Bluebird Hill out of Oregon, but that's a whole different company. And so this seems to be an orphan wine. It seems to be inexpensive for what it is, because it's at least part of it, if not all of it's from one of the top Pinot Noir vineyards in California. It's 16 months in French oak, not 40% French oak, new French oak. And the rest is in neutral barrels. And a neutral barrel is a barrel that has been used so often it no longer gives off flavor anymore. But even though it's watertight, it isn't completely airtight. So there's a little bit of air transfer, just a little bit, and that will change what's in the barrel as it ages. Where if you put it in stainless steel, well, there's no air getting past stainless steel. That's pretty much locked down. So it's more expense, because even though you probably have neutral barrels on hand, but you're still using them, and you have to rather than put it in one, good sized tank, you got to put it into, what's 40% of 52. You got 30 something barrels. You're putting the wine in and making sure everything's fine with that. So it's more of an expense. It's more work. You don't usually get more expensive, more work in inexpensive wine. $15, you start to get some good details on the wine. So there you go. So this is a wine that is kind of not what, well, I don't even know, because the tasting notes are for 2013 vintage. There isn't anything for 2016. So I'm assuming everything's from the 2013 vintage notes and the 2016 wine are the same. I don't know. Doesn't say. Just notes. I know how many barrels they used, and with a little small production like that, they can source from a very upscale premier vineyard. If you're making 100,000 bottles, that's a whole different story, because you need a lot more wine at that point. And that's not always easy to come by, but getting a small amount, you might be able to. So I don't know. So this is like a grocery store wine that who knows what it's all about. And it's kind of a cool one. I'm going to take a sip because it actually is pretty good Pinot Noir. I'm going to take a sip and we'll talk about what it tastes like. Yeah, inexpensive Pinot Noirs are way better than they used to be, but they tend to be more fruit dominated, cherries for the most part. And that's not a bad thing. There's nothing wrong with it. They taste great, but they tend to have a little more fruit than they have the complexity. And there's a new style of wine like Miomis and stuff, where Pinot Noirs, where they're actually really they're leaning more towards fruit and they're really super popular. They always taste great. But the old school California Pinot Noirs are weird. They have these funky flavors. They have herbs and grilled meat and smoke and things like tar and like exotic teas and exotic spices and these strange aromas coming from them. And you have to literally take your time to try to find them all. If you're just sipping and talking to somebody, you're not going to know what's going on. You have to invest a little bit of time for a decent Pinot Noir to get the full effect, to get everything it has to offer. And, and for inexpensive ones, they're easy to drink. They have some crazy cool funkiness to them, but this has the full array of crazy cool funkiness to it. My favorites are from Oregon. This is a Monterey. It's a little warmer down in Monterey, not that much warmer, but the Oregon ones, when they get really good, they're ethereal. The flavors like hit your tongue, your taste buds, and then float away. And then another one comes. Those are something else. But this is really kind of cool. If you take a sip, you'll get something else coming. And sometimes it tastes delicious. Sometimes like, what is that? It keeps on coming, and it's a ride, and it's $15. Normally you had to go a little bit more upscaled on a Pinot Noir to get the whole shebang going. And this one has. I'm gonna take another sip because I'm thinking about it, so I might as well drink it. And they're selling it and their tasting notes said that this is an everyday wine. So they did try to make it, I guess, for everyday price, but I don't know what they're talking about everyday wine, because 16 months in oak, 2016 vintage, a lot of, even big name Pinot Noir makers are releasing the 2017s right now. And this might be because it's an orphan, a little bit older. It might have been sitting around somewhere before it got released. It needed distribution or something. There might be a reason for why it's a little bit older, but that's not a bad reason. It has a little bit more aging, and a little bit of aging for Pinot Noir isn't a bad thing. This type of wine, you don't want too much aging, but a little bit kind of just makes it more interesting. So there you go to the supermarket. You never know, because half the time the supermarket, I go to where the sales are. I do it for the cheapwinefinder.com website. What haven't I done in a while or never had, and looks like it has a cool label or whatever. And this time, because I was, social distancing, every time someone walked away, I went somewhere else until I found this one. And I never would have, and I should have, because this is a cool wine that is in a supermarket, a grocery store, a chain. And this is a boutique wine at supermarket prices. And it's kind of cool. And that's, you never know what you can find. Even if you can't find this one for sale, which maybe you can or you can't, it's really kind of fun just to get this. It's to know that if you look, you'll never know what you find. So that's it for me. I hope you're all doing what you can do, and hope you get your money coming from the government. Who knows what they're doing with that, and everybody's safe, and everybody looks like Old West bandits right now, all covered up, and it's kind of funny what they're using for masks. I don't think they're really medically approved, but it's kind of a fashion statement. So be safe out there. And that's it for me. Till the next time, this is Dave from cheapwinefinder.com. Over and out. Keep it cheap. And let's hunker down till the next time. I'll talk to you later. Bye-bye.